So warm welcome. I can say a warm welcome now that the sun is shining through, and it's really beautiful to see so many of you. Quite a few people wanted to come and had to cancel due to some kind of sickness or the other. So yeah, it's spacious and yet kind of well populated right now. So it feels very, very nice. And obviously to be back here is also a change. I'm slowly reacclimatizing myself and my two Anagarikas, one of who you'll see soon, have been in Perth for 3 months on our annual Veins retreat. So we did a lot of meditation, very little, especially in my case, almost no talking at all, really, until the end. And now we've been plunged into the opposite. So it's about adjustments and transitions, which kind of goes with the season, doesn't it? You know, the autumn season is a time of obvious change, and there's a certain beauty and a certain melancholy, I think, in that change that can connect us to impermanence and connect us to the changing seasons of life. So today I wanted to talk about something fairly simple, a very simple practice that I was making the center, really, or the foundation of my practice during the 3 months. And it's simply letting things be, simply being present to whatever's arising in the body, in the mind, in the emotional world. In other words, just giving your mind a break. You know, sometimes we come to meditation days or retreats, hoping to learn a method or thinking that we need to sort of get more metta or somehow make our minds different than they are. And it can be a real relief just to know that it's okay to have a break. It's okay just to let things be exactly as they are without trying to fix them, without trying to change them. Basically getting out of the way and stopping being what we call a control freak, right? And this can be seen as a foundation of practice, like a beginner's step in a way. Ajahn Brahm often talks about it as one of the first stages of meditation, present moment awareness. But the more that I practice, maybe I just become a beginner again and again. Maybe I've never really progressed from being a beginner. But the more I realize that it's those foundations that we need to make really, really strong. And in a sense, everything else grows from there. The practice doesn't even really build, it doesn't even progress, it ingresses, it starts to move inside. The mind starts to go inside, and we start to uncover deeper and deeper layers of the mind. So this can happen when we meet the present moment with a sense of acceptance, a sense of giving things space, really a lot of space. Not only space, but time to work themselves out. You know, emotions do move, they do move through us. Sometimes we can feel very stuck, especially, if we've experienced some grief, some loss. Maybe depression can feel like a very stuck state. Boredom, obviously, can feel boring. We don't really see the change in that. But if we do allow ourselves to really stay present to these things without making any demands on them, without trying to get them to change, we start to see the kind of light starting to flicker through or the mist starting to lift. And sometimes that's all we need to do, just remain present and trust. It takes courage, it takes trust, and a lot of gentleness. So these are the kind of orientations I would like to suggest to us today. And, once we get familiar with this kind of practice, we find the present moment is so interesting. We actually don't want to miss a moment. We don't want to miss a single moment because we're learning from every moment. And we start to learn about the impermanent nature of our bodies and minds, the impermanence of life. And we become alive to the moment. So often we don't even really notice what's happening. We're too busy running off into the future or kind of, sunk in the past. And there's a need for that as well at times. But I like to, remember this lovely sutta that's repeated, I think, 3 or 4 times in the Majjhima Nikaya, and I didn't have a chance to check it out today, but I have memorized it. And in this sutta, it's called the Baddekaratta Sutta, which means something like one auspicious night. Basically, that means that we've managed to practice really well for a whole day and a whole night, and we've made good use of our time. And in this sutta, the Buddha is basically advising us not to dwell on the past or place our hopes on the future. And it says, for the past has been left behind and the future has not yet been reached. Instead, with insight, let us see each presently arisen state. Let us know it and be sure of it, invincibly, unshakably. So we really know what's happening right now. I think the next part is about the nature of death. Today the effort must be made. Tomorrow death may come, who knows? No bargain with mortality can keep him and his hordes away. But one who knows, one who works or practices ardently, relentlessly by day and night, it's them, the silent sage has said, who's had an excellent night. So these are the Buddha's words. And again, it doesn't mean that we should push away anything. You know, sometimes it's important to remember the past, especially if we can remember it in a way that nourishes us, in a way that connects us with impermanence, with the non-self nature of life, but not to intentionally look in these places, in the past and the future, for our happiness, because they simply don't exist. You know, they simply don't exist. They make us what we are, we could say, but the future is a fantasy, isn't it? You know, we have so many hopes and expectations for this future. And in a way, now is the only time we have. And it's how we're meeting each moment now. What sort of quality of mind are we meeting the moment with that shapes our future? So this is what my teacher Ajahn Brahm calls making good mental karma. You know, sometimes karma is abstracted. We think of it as, you know, something that we've done in the past and now we're getting the results. And the Buddha said, don't really go there. You know, don't think that sickness or death is a result of bad karma. I mean, if anything, it's the result of being born, right? With birth, there has to come aging, sickness, and death. This is just the way of life. So we don't need to look back and try and work out, why are we in the position we're in now? What if I'd done something differently? You know, did I make the right decision about, I don't know, buying a new place, moving into a monastery that's, you know, takes quite a bit to keep, of upkeep. That's not the point. The point is, whatever has happened in your life until now has brought you here. That's pretty cool, because right here is not such a bad place to be, I hope. And you can make karma in this present moment by basically treating the moment as a friend, you know, extending qualities of friendship, of respect, of kindness, and of letting things be in this present moment. Yeah. So it's not really a method, and yet it is quite difficult. It sounds very simple, and yet we often complicate things that are simple. We think there must be more to it. And I think one of the reasons is that we don't really understand what the present moment is. You know, do you know what it is? How do you know you're present? How do we really know? Sometimes one of the easiest ways to get a handle on the present moment is just to become a little bit more embodied, gently, especially if there's some trauma or some difficult emotion that you're facing right now. You don't have to suddenly feel everything at once, but to just gently have this sense of the body sitting. Yeah. The other day I did a little reflection before lunch, inspired by the autumn, about the 4 elements. And that's a really nice way to start feeling our sensations in the body. You know, there is earth element. Earth element is the field of weight, heaviness, lightness, also texture. So we can feel grounded, we can feel soft or hardness. Yeah, and this helps us. It's an experience, it's an experiential feeling, it's not a concept. And this helps us to be present in the here and now. We also have the water element, which is the liquid and the cohesive element in the body. And we have the fire element, which is the whole field of temperature. So right now, are you feeling hot? Are you feeling cold? Some of you will be feeling kind of that things are a bit close. This is what the English always say. Oh, it's a bit close. Or it's a bit humid. And then the minute it gets a bit cooler, oh, isn't it cold? At least from where I come from. They're always complaining about the weather. So some of you will be cold, some of you will be warmer. But it doesn't really matter. You don't need to give it a name or a label. Just feel what you feel. You know, the field of temperature. You can have that as well as that heaviness, as well as the liquid, all happening at once. And then the air element, which is movement, any kind of movement, most obviously felt with the breath, right? We can just feel the breath coming in and out. We can feel the abdomen expand and contract. Feel the eyes blink. I'm seeing the movements happening. Yeah. The lips smiling. This is air element. So this is one way to really start to become more present. And another way, of course, is that we start to see what's happening in the mind, our thinking. Yeah, sometimes the thinking drags us, or it seems to drag us into the future and the past, or it's just kind of proliferation, complicating life. Thoughts of me, who I am, how I'm feeling right now, what kind of image I'm giving, or how people regard me, you know, all of this kind of I making and mind making that really puts a big burden on the mind. A lot of this is just the content of thought. It's all it is. It's just a thought happening now. And instead of that, we can try and gently relocate in the present, coming out of the future and the past and just relaxing, even in the midst of thinking. Yeah. Sometimes we can't stop that thinking, but we can just relax with it, letting thinking be. And eventually, you know, when we're not fueling it, when we're not fighting it or, you know, getting stuck on a train of thought, then it does start to fade. So thinking by itself is not a problem. And another way of working with thinking is not only to relax with it and almost let it be there, let it be in the back of the mind or fade to the edges of the mind, but also to notice the space between the thoughts. So I pause deliberately because along with the space between the thoughts, of course, there's space between the words. So even right now, can you notice the silence? Can you notice that gap? And just allow yourself to rest there for a moment, for this present moment. And the more we get familiar with this, whether thinking is present or not, the more we learn to just drop into the present gently, but in a way with some confidence as well. The more that present moment becomes a real refuge for us. And in my retreat, I was practicing this a lot, especially in the beginning, but I think throughout. And I learned to do this also before I slept, which was great because I often don't sleep that well. Probably the period of my life, sort of perimenopause and disturbed sleep. I also have a very vivid mind in my dreams. I'm not very visual in daily life, but my dreams are crazy. Last night I was in India somewhere trying to get either a bus or a taxi or a rickshaw or anything I could to the airport to get on a flight to Ghana. Great. I have no idea why I dreamt this, but it went on for about 2 hours and it was so busy. I was being ripped off. The buses were swerving all over the place. No one was going where I wanted them to. My goodness, so tiring. But during my retreat, sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But it felt very real. But during my rains retreat, I really intentionally allowed my mind just to remain present before I slept. Not even practicing loving kindness, which I often do, but just allowing myself to notice silence and really stay present with that silence moment to moment. And I found that not only did I sleep really easily, there were barely any dreams, barely any thoughts throughout the night. So it is a really powerful practice. And it actually becomes quite profound, quite mysterious. in the way that the present moment deepens and evolves. So although in the beginning it feels quite simple, and perhaps when we first experience the present moment, it seems almost too humble to really be bothered with or to notice. After some time, it seems to deepen. It seems to move us inside, more deeply inside. And it includes, it doesn't exclude our emotional world. Yeah. So we start to get this sense of intimacy and connection to our emotions, to our emotional world, and learn to give them space. Yeah, learn to be with them, again, as a friend and with a great deal of respect. So we're not trying to push past anything. We're not trying to resolve anything. You know, sometimes we talk about grief and we say, oh, it's, you know, it's a lot of suffering to grieve. So we have to kind of, I don't know, move through grief. What if we let grief move through us? You know, what if we can just give it the space and see what we can learn? See how it can perhaps break us open, break our hearts, but in that breaking, connect us to something much deeper, to something much more profound, you know, really to have that trust, that tenderness and patience with things like grief. Yeah, because it has its own life force in a way. And again, that is impermanent. There'll be times it's overwhelming, there'll be times, you know, it's just a sort of sense of poignancy in the mind, a sense of, yeah, that your life has been touched by someone or something really beautiful, deeply beautiful, and we can't really understand it yet. But it shapes us, you know, and it changes us if we let it. So try not to push anything away. And hopefully, this is one of the things we can do here by creating a container, creating safety, creating community, that we can gently learn to relax into our emotional world, you know, with one another. We don't have to know each other. We don't have to talk to each other right until the end, anyway, with your cup of tea. But we can assume, you know, that other people in this room are going through something similar. The details will differ, but the emotions will be relatable to all of us. And if it's not our turn yet, it will be soon. So just trusting and allowing this present moment to open up and to reveal a new reality to us that we might have been pushing away. And yeah, taking the refuge of the body, grounding yourself. You can do this in daily life. You know, sometimes we might feel stressed or afraid, maybe anxious, maybe depressed. We don't really know what to do with ourselves. I mean, today I wasn't feeling those emotions, but I was feeling particularly tired. And one of my Nagayakas told me there's a name for it. What was it? She's deep in the present moment. What's the name for the tiredness I was feeling?
Sitting. I say you're feeling zoinked.
Zoinked. I was feeling zoinked. Okay. I never knew I was feeling zoinked, but apparently I was. Which is, I don't know, I think it really hit the nail on the head, or hit me on the head. When you feel slightly delirious, you're that tired. Is that right?
People would understand the Scooby-Doo pop culture reference.
Anyway, a kind of delirious, slightly giddy tiredness where you feel almost like the stars, you know, kind of coming around your head. I'm okay now. I had a little rest before I came down. But one of the things I was doing was just gently folding my laundry. And I realized that was a beautiful way of being present, you know, just folding clothes, just gently, slowly, present with present moment awareness, feeling the touch of the fabric, smelling the nice detergent that's almost got rid of the sweat. We have to wear the same clothes all the time, so they do get quite sweaty. But there are these things, you know, and a cup of tea is so wonderful. Not the whole cup, but just each sip, just each and every single sip, or each and every step as you do your walking meditation. And I'm not going to say each breath, Because one of the ways that Ajahn Brahm teaches the present moment awareness is to intentionally notice when our mind thinks it needs to go out and grasp something. It thinks it needs to do something in the meditation. I think you can have a kind of generalized attitude of acceptance, right? Even of warmth. But warmth is a little bit more doing. Today, we're going to talk more about letting things be. So just simply being present and noticing when the mind wants to grasp. So, in a way, it's a practice of restraint. It's a practice that goes against this huge force in the mind of wanting to get rid of, wanting to keep the experiences we think are valuable, and be a lot more open than that, a lot less discriminating. So, in this sense, it's very close to loving kindness, but just with a slightly more passive, more open, more spacious sense. So, these are just some reflections I wanted to share to get us in the mood. And yeah, I thought we would do some meditation for a short time. Please stretch if you think you need to. It'll just be about half an hour. And after that, we'll do some walking and I'll guide you through the day. It's only an afternoon, but every moment counts. So the meditation sessions won't be too long. And there will, as Anukampa Grove kindly told us, there will be time for tea. So you'll get sipping meditation too. Sorry, I'm having mine now. No time like the present, right?
I also forgot to mention an additional walking area. If you're very careful not to fall into the pool, there's some more paved area around the pool. That's quite a nice stretch for walking.
So if you're comfortable to do so, you can gently close your eyes. Sometimes we close our eyes too quickly. So take your time. Perhaps just noticing those residual impressions of where you are, the people seated around you. And the silence. As well as the sounds of the heating coming on, going off. Sound of my voice. Contained within silence. The silence that surrounds your thoughts. So see if you can allow that silence to be soft, to be warm, to be spacious. by relaxing your body into the silence rather than tightening up. Allow your body space. Adjust your posture as much as you need to until it really is as comfortable as it can possibly be. Listening in to the feelings in your body. Noticing if it helps to feel the weight of the body against the cushion, the ground, or your chair. Taking your seat, feeling that support. Allowing the sensations to gently move the mind inside your body and inside time. Into the present moment. And as you come closer to the feelings in your body, probably notice that there are pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral sensations, which it's become natural, habitual to cling to or reject. So it's just noticing what it would take to find more spaciousness and acceptance, a wider container for the realm of feelings, of sensations. Perhaps by mentally just sitting back, becoming passive, inclusive and connected to the whole range of experience. With a sense of curiosity. And noticing the mood, the tone, the atmosphere in your emotional world. Perhaps harder to pin down. Just a general sense of your emotional world right now, without names and labels. Giving yourself permission to feel whatever you feel. coming a little bit closer to that in this present moment. Just one moment at a time. And to help us become even more present, see if you can notice that aspect of your experience which is happening now, the nowness of experience rather than the content, the perception of the present moment, a particular kind of perception that tells you you are present now. To help with this, it might be useful to notice when your mind is moving ahead or getting stuck on the last moment. And just very gently noticing the moment happening now. Just letting it be. Moving inside the mind. Thoughts may be there, sensations may be there, even the breath may enter your mind. Doesn't matter. Don't give so much importance to that, nor try to keep it out. But just notice if you're present to that. Notice that aspect of experience which is now. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to follow the breath or practice loving kindness or move your attention around the body, just sit back and relax, giving your mind a break. And if you notice at any time that the mind's becoming tight or contracted in any way, just again developing that sense of spaciousness, taking off the burdens from your mind, and becoming present. This one moment is all you need to be aware of. No matter whether it's painful or pleasant, it's just one moment. So allowing emotions, allowing thoughts to just flow through as your mind stays relaxed and wide. Just noticing how you feel now as we come close to the end of the meditation. Does your mind become freer, more spacious, more present perhaps? Maybe you've become more in touch with your emotions and realized how tired you are. Do you feel more connected, more grounded in the here and now, in your own experience? And how can you stay close to that? What kind of attitude would help you to stay really present to yourself? So just listening to the sound of the gong, each and every sound until it fades. And at the end of the third ring, if you wish, you can gently open your eyes. If you prefer to, you can continue to sit in meditation for as long as you wish. So welcoming our newcomer. And yeah, I hope that helped you to just land and get to know how you're doing right now. Sometimes we don't really know. We're just too busy doing. We don't know how we're actually feeling. So yeah, if you wish to, now is the time to move into some walking meditation. So don't think that between here and your walking path is a blank. Between here and there is like many, many steps, many, many moments. So see if you can maintain that continuity of staying present as much as you can. Keeping it loose, sometimes we think, oh, I've got to be really present, and then mind gets really focused and it gets a little tight. So just you can be present in a spacious way. So yeah, if you'd like to find your walking path, please go ahead.